Unleashed 1 hour of insane billionaire motivation to transform your life now. The crowd buzzed with excitement, chatter blending with the metallic tang of apprehension hanging in the air. A hush fell suddenly, like a stray thought snapping back into focus. The door swung open with a gut-wrenching creak, revealing a staggering figure silhouetted against a blinding flood of light. It was Eli March, the billionaire whose success story was as mythical as a superhero's origin. Rumors swirled that he could read the minds of those beneath him, and that behind his charming smile lay the heart of a tempest, ready to unleash chaos at any moment. There was no denying it. Every moment spent in his presence twisted the very fabric of reality. Staring at his perfectly manicured hands, people whispered of secret deals struck in shadowy corners. Was it true he once made a $300 million investment on a mere gut feeling? They could practically feel the crackle of electricity in the room, folks on the edge of their seats, breaths held tight in their chests. Just then, a strange sound pierced the silence, a low rumble building into an unsettling drone. The crowd shifted uneasily, eyes darting to the overhead beams that seemed to vibrate in unison with the eerie hum. Was it just nerves, or was something ominous lurking just beyond view? A woman near the front gasped, clutching her chest as if the world around her was closing in. "Did you hear that?" Her voice quaked, and a ripple of fear surged through the audience. Eli raised an eyebrow, his gaze sweeping across the crowd like a predator sizing up its prey. There was a sense of impending doom, a whispering thought in everyone's minds that whatever was about to happen could change everything. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Suddenly, the lights flickered ominously, and Eli's voice boomed, commanding full attention. Do you want to know power? Do you want to transform your life? Then listen closely. Each word hung heavy in the air, as if he was summoning the very essence of ambition itself. Outside, thunder cracked, a bolt of brilliance against the darkened sky. The shadows danced, and with every heartbeat, the atmosphere thickened with prescience. What exactly lay at the end of this motivation journey? Would Eli lead them to the summit of success or shackles of downfall? As whispered questions lingered in the air, something unexpected surged behind him, an all-consuming roar as the very floor began to tremble. What was about to be unleashed? The crowd's breath stilled, suspended in the electric air as Eli extended his arms, the flickering lights casting manic shadows across his face. His expression was a blend of confidence and unfathomable depth, like a man poised on the brink of revelation. Every choice you make today, he began, voice crawling through the thrumming atmosphere, can alter the course of your destiny. Then, just as suddenly as the floor had trembled, a violent blast erupted from the walls, a gut-wrenching shudder that made everyone stagger backward. Gasps echoed, and a man near the back fell to his knees, eyes wide with terror as dust and debris rained down from the ceiling. Eli remained unfazed, eyes aflame with intensity. There was a power radiating from him, splitting the crowd between fervor and fear. "What's happening?" A woman screamed, clutching her friend's arm tightly, her knuckles white against his skin. "Stay calm," Eli shouted over the rising chaos. "This is only the beginning. To unleash potential, sometimes you must face the storm." The floor's vibrations grew violent, throwing people off balance as if the very ground was at war with itself. Cries of confusion and horror mixed with the insistent droning sound, vibrating through bodies like a sinister heart. Eli's smile faltered for the briefest instant, hinting at a deeper understanding of the wild energy flaring around them, but the fire in the crowd wasn't extinguished. Instead, it ignited. Some surged forward, bolstered by a fervent belief that Eli's words held the key to their escape. Others hesitated, rooted in place by dread. From the shadows at the edges of the hall, figures appeared, draped in cloaks that fluttered like dark wings. Who were they? spectators or sentinels of this madness. Embrace it. Eli roared, voice cutting through the clamor. Fear is your greatest adversary. Look around you. Are you here to change your life or to succumb to fear? But the drone escalated into a shriek, pulling attention from Eli. It truncated his speech, and with it, hope began to falter. The cloaked figures advanced, their faces obscured but their presence haunting. An atmosphere rich with the peculiar weight of doom enveloped the room, enveloping minds in a chill that ran deeper than bone. Eli! Another voice erupted, filled with desperation. We can't stay here. A man in a suit, visibly shaken, broke the hold of the crowd, racing towards Eli but stumbling as the floor bucked again. You're not telling us everything. Eli turned slowly, the glimmer in his eyes dimming as he glanced back at his audience, not just mere attendees anymore, but believers and skeptics caught in a storm of chaos. A long pause enveloped the hall, thick with uncertainty. For a single moment, everyone's fate hung by a thread. What if this is all just a test? Eli spoke softly, the words seeping into the crowd like poison. What if unlocking your potential means confronting a darker truth? A collective intake of breath echoed across the hall, fear morphing into panic. Eli's mouth curled into a smirk, but it was tinged with something unsettling. Was he reveling in their terror or merely feeding off their energy? Before clarity could surface, the thunder erupted again, louder and closer, rattling hearts and shaking will. The lights flickered one last time before plunging the room into darkness. And then it was quiet, too quiet. The darkness felt alive, pulsing with unseen eyes. Eli's voice emerged from the void. Prepare yourselves, you're about to learn what you're truly made of. The crowd tensed, minds racing, hearts thudding. A whisper spread like wildfire, the tension crackling against skin. What trial awaited them in this darkness? And more importantly, what shadows lurked behind Eli's enigmatic smile? The truth was closing in, and they were nowhere near ready to face it. Silence engulfed the crowd, thick and suffocating. The absence of light was disorienting, people fumbled in the dark, hands brushing against strangers, and the sharp intake of breath filled the space. Fear was a tangible entity, wrapping its icy fingers around their throats. Eli's voice was a beacon, yet unsettling. Listen closely. Change does not come easily. True potential requires sacrifice. A woman near the front gasped, sacrifice. What do you mean? Her voice trembled, cutting through the darkness like a knife. Your fears, Eli replied, his tone smooth and alluring. What holds you back? You must confront the things you dread most. A sharp click sliced through the darkness, and flickering emergency lights cast grotesque shadows across the room. Panic morphed into confusion, faces warped in sickly green light. Eli stood at the center, illuminated, and the cloaked figures loomed beyond him, watchers in this dark theater of fate. Who are you? Shouted a man, desperation edging his voice. What is this madness? Madness is only a perception, Eli shot back, eyes glinting. The madness within us can either cripple or liberate. It's your choice. The crowd shifted restlessly, uncertainty wrapping around them. Eli was both leader and tormentor, guiding them into a maze of fear and delirium. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed, sparking renewed terror. Ceiling tiles rained down, sending the first wave of panic ripple through the audience. Screams erupted. Eli held his ground, lifting a hand, harnessing the volatile emotions. Stay strong. The storm tests our resolve, your resolve. The room pulsed as a collective heartbeat, echoing fear and fervor. Some fell to their knees, while others scrambled for escape, whispering frantic prayers, scrambling to remember faces of loved ones outside this chaos. From the corner of her eye, Rachel spotted a cloaked figure dart toward the panicking throng, its movements eerie and quick. Eli! She shouted, trying to be heard above the irrational chaos. Stop this! You don't control us like puppets. Eli's expression shifted, and his smile widened into something almost predatory. But do I not? His arms outstretched again, as if gathering darkness around him. A true leader gathers power through trust and fear. Now, tell me, what do you choose? Freedom. Someone yelled, and that word echoed back like a drum, igniting a spark in the crowd. But the cloaked figures stepped forward, their forms impossibly close, shadows lunging at the edges of reality. Not all freedom comes without shackles, one hissed from behind a hood, voice smooth as silk, yet laced with venom. Rachel felt the air change, a chilling pressure that squeezed her lungs, a realization hitting her hard. This wasn't merely a test, it was a reckoning. Believe in your strength. Eli surged, arms still aloft. Face what haunts you. Embrace your shadows. Thunder rolled through the building again, a reminder of their impending doom. People gripped each other tighter, finding brief comfort in the shared terror. Suddenly, the lights brightened, blaring flashes illuminating terrified faces and chaos. Rachel's heart pounded as she saw what lay beyond the emergency lights. A massive screen flickered to life above, showing a montage of their deepest fears and failures. In an instant, each person's worst moments played out like a twisted confession. Gasps filled the air, and Rachel recoiled as she saw her own reflection on the screen, vulnerable, terrified. Face your truth. Eli's voice boomed again, cutting through the mounting hysteria. Only then can you step into the light. What choice would they make as the walls trembled with the weight of their past? Were they strong enough to confront what lay within? Just as doubt crept back in, a glimmer of light broke through the dark, illuminating a path. But in that moment of fleeting hope, a chilling whisper swept through the hall, you may step into that light, but only at a cost. The air froze with anticipation. What sacrifice awaited them beyond the darkness, and would they dare to take that first step? The flickering screen pulsed like a heartbeat, each image a dagger of dread. Some faces tightened in anguish, others twisted in fury at their own reflection. Rachel's breath caught, trapped in her throat as she stared at the flickers of her past failures playing out before her, each moment tethered to shame. The specter of doubt loomed larger, crowding her mind until it felt like an echo chamber of despair. A chorus of cries erupted, voices tangled in chaos. The fear rippled like a surge, crashing over the crowd again and again. Ignited by desperation, Rachel looked around, eyes wide with urgency. We need to stand together. She shouted, but her words were devoured by the fear clinging thick in the air. Eli loomed, a dark entanglement of confidence and mischief, his gaze locking onto her. Together? He mocked softly, his smile stretching sinisterly. What bond can survive when stripped of its illusions? A man staggered backward, haunted by the images wrapping around his heart. I can't face that. He screamed, shaking his head like a child refusing to eat a bitter fruit. Then you have already chosen. Eli's voice cut through the thrumming madness, cold and unwelcome. The cost of ignorance is steep. Rachel's mind raced, a flurry of thoughts colliding. There had to be a way to help them, to lead them out of this torment. Eli! She screamed, summoning every ounce of courage she had. You might wield fear like a weapon, but you can't hold us here forever. Your power is an illusion. A flash of surprise flickered across Eli's face, quickly masked by an icy calm. The eerie chorus of whispers surrounding the cloaked figures intensified, chilling the air as they swayed closer, their shadows dancing along the walls. So bold, one of them chuckled, the sound low and haunting. What would you sacrifice, little truth seeker? What weight would you bear to challenge unwelcome reality? A searing anxiety shot through Rachel, but she stood firm, squaring her shoulders. She felt the collective yearning of the crowd, the desperate need to be free from the cold grip of fear. To face our demons. She urged. To fight for our freedom. We can't let the shadows control us. The crowd responded, a murmur swelling through the sea of faces. Doubts flickered like dying embers, slowly rekindling hope. But the cloaked figures advanced, cold breath washing over Rachel. You don't understand. The truth is not a bomb. It is a fire. And fire burns. The lights dimmed once more, plunging everything back into thick darkness. Panic surged again, cold and merciless, seeping into the cracks of her resolve. Desperately, Rachel searched for Eli through the shadows, seeking a way to turn this around. Then, in the suffocating blackness, a voice deep, resolute, startlingly familiar filled her ears. "You are stronger than you believe, Rachel. Embrace your truth. It's time to cut the strings." Her heart raced as she felt the weight lift, the pull of fear loosening just enough for a spark of clarity to break through. In that pregnant silence, she brought forth the one thing they all needed, courage. "Together, we face the storm." She cried out again, and the words echoed with fierce clarity. Would they come together, united against the threat looming before them? Would they confront their shadows, fueled by a newfound determination? As the lights flickered back to life, revealing Eli's maddening grin, one thought lingered in Rachel's mind. What sacrifice would they choose to make, and would the cost of confronting their fears be more than they could bear? The lights struggled to find a steady glow, and for a flickering moment, Rachel saw the faces of fear and indecision surrounding her. Hope had sparked, but it flickered like a dying candle in a tempest. Eli's smile widened as he took a measured step toward her, his presence like a shadow looming over the flickering light. "There is weakness in your unity, Rachel," he said, voice smooth yet cutting. "What makes you think facing demons will set you free? You stand on the edge of a precipice, blind to the dark abyss below." Panic surged through the crowd. Eyes darted, and hearts raced with primal fear. But this time, Rachel felt the warmth of support, the resolve of those stirred by her call to fight. "We can do this," she shouted. "We will not let him define our reality." "Yes. Together." A woman echoed, her voice rising above the murmur, sending ripples of courage through the air. Others joined, voices rising harmoniously, a melodic defiance against the encroaching dread. The figures in cloaks paused, caught off guard by the swelling tide of resolve, but Eli laughed, cruel and rich with malice. "You stand not on solid ground, but on shifting sand. Gather all you like, your hearts wear the weight of countless fears." He gestured toward the shadows, and the air turned icy. Tendrils of darkness slithered forward, curling around the feet of the audience like malevolent serpents. Rachel felt the overwhelming gravity snaking through the collective dread, threatening to pull them under. "No!" she yelled, anger surging like a wildfire within her. She stepped forward, daring to confront Eli. "This is the very battle we must face. We will defy these fears." Eli raised an eyebrow, intrigued, though the gleam of menace was still present. "And what if I expose your deepest, darkest secret right now? Will your bond hold then?" The crowd gasped, fear turning palpable. Rachel's heart thundered. What dark, terrible truths lay buried within her? She took a breath, steadying herself. "I am ready." "We are ready." "Then let us begin." Eli's voice dropped to a whisper, and suddenly, images flooded Rachel's mind, memories of her past failures swirling like a tempest. Each one hit like a punch, memories of betrayal, shame, and her own cowardice. She staggered back. But behind the pain was a flicker of resilience. She recalled the strength she'd shown before, the moments she pushed through even when it felt impossible. "I will confront them," she screamed into the void. "I will own my past, and I will rise." With those words, she felt a rush of warmth, pushing back against the shadows. The crowd sensed it too. The flicker turned into a blaze. As if compelled by a collective will, they stepped forward, united not by the illusion of comfort but by the grit of resolve. Shadows recoiled as light began to radiate from within, but Eli, gripping the edges of his cloak, narrowed his eyes. "You think the darkness will relent? I will not permit it. We will see who truly holds power." The air thickened, crackling with tension. Rachel battled to drown out her fear. What if their light wasn't enough? But as she looked around, she saw determination etched on each face. No longer frightened children, but warriors ready to confront both fear and the truth. The darkness surged, and with it, a thunderous roar filled the room. Eli's figure twisted in shadows, and a sinister grin curled his lips. One thought pulsed through Rachel's mind: would their newfound strength and resolve hold against Eli's darkness, and what chaos would erupt if they dared to shatter the illusions completely? The ground trembled beneath their feet, and in the distance, she heard the cracking of an unseen door, a cue for the battle awaiting them. As the laughter of shadows merged with the cries of the crowd, Rachel braced for the confrontation of a lifetime. What would they discover in the heart of this darkness? Would they emerge intact, or would the truth be more crushing than any fear? The shadows pressed in, cold tendrils entwining with their defiance, but Rachel refused to let them win. She dug her heels in, feeling the ground beneath her a solid anchor in a storm. Together! She shouted again, her voice carrying across the trembling crowd, breaking through the suffocating darkness. The members of her gathering instinctively reached for each other, hands connecting in a web of hope. Arms shot up, creating an improvised barrier against the encroaching void. For a moment, it felt as if the light they wove was a living thing, pulsing with mutual strength. But the roar of shadows grew louder, a monstrous cacophony that promised to devour their unity. Your bond isn't enough. Eli shouted, his voice slicing through the chaos. You're mere mortals faced with the realm of nightmares. He stepped forward, shadows swirling around him like a well-tailored cloak. Each word dripped with venomous doubt, designed to penetrate their collective courage. Then, with a swift motion, he raised his hand. Smoke billowed around him, and from it emerged grotesque figures, twisted versions of their deepest fears. Rachel's breath caught as she faced her own manifestation, a nightmarish version of herself, clad in shame and regret. It sneered, eyes filled with ridicule. Each taunt landed like a blow to her spirit. See. This is who you truly are, it hissed. You'll always falter. You'll always fail. But like an explosion ignited by a spark, Rachel felt warmth build within her, fueled by her audience's unwavering resolve. No. She screamed, shaking her head forcefully. That's not who I am. I am not defined by my failures, but by my rebirth. A wave of understanding washed over the crowd. We choose to rise, shouted an elderly man, his voice quaking but strong. Others joined in, their affirmations interweaving, creating a tapestry of resolve that filled the room like wildflowers breaking through concrete. Eli's eyes narrowed further. They are fools, abandoning reason for delusions. The darkness feeds on that. His voice twisted with indignation. He beckoned to the nightmarish figures, commanding them to press forward. They pursued the crowd, shadows clawing for what light remained. Rachel fell to her knees, shaking. They were losing ground, despite their strength. Fear gnawed at her, filling her mind with questions. What if she failed them? What if she was wrong? But then a hand squeezed her shoulder, steady and strong. It was the woman who had first echoed her call. Stand with me, she urged, her eyes bright with fierce encouragement. Remember who you are to each other. In that moment, Rachel understood. It wasn't just about her, they all shared their fears, their shame. Together, they were a force more powerful than any darkness. She rose, determination surging through her like fire. Stand together. Here. Now. The air rankled with emotion as the crowd surged forward, chanting their own truths against the encroaching shadows. We rise, we are unbreakable, we are enough. Each declaration intensified their collective light, bolstering the force struggling against Eli's shadows. Eli's laughter twisted into a snarl as he realized his grip was loosening. Fools! He spat, desperation creeping into his voice. You think you can take my power, my darkness. But as Rachel and her companions held their ground, something extraordinary began to happen. The nightmarish figures faltered, quaking under the blistering radiance of their unity. One by one, the shadows flickered and began to dissolve into wisps of smoke, their clamoring cries twisting into whimpers that it was working. They were not just resisting the darkness, they were dismantling it. Yet, amidst this victory, an unsettling realization crept into Rachel's mind. What if Eli had even greater horrors waiting in the depths of his dominion, shadows more sinister than anything they had faced tonight? A crack echoed in the distance, a sound different from before, more ominous. It was a door slamming shut, and at that sound, dread spiked in her chest. What else does he have in store for us? As Rachel prepared to face whatever came next, a new shadow flickered at the edge of her sight, darker and more foreboding than the rest. It called to her, whispering secrets she had long buried. This battle wasn't over. Not yet. What lay ahead as they dared venture deeper into Eli's abyss? Would they discover the truth that haunted them all, or would they be swallowed whole by the shadows waiting to pounce? The shadows writhed and twisted, thickening around Rachel and her companions like a vice ready to snap. The crack behind them resonated again, echoing through the darkness like a death knell. A disconcerting hush enveloped the room for a heartbeat, as if the very air was holding its breath. Then it happened. A low growl emanated from the shadows, reverberating through the crowd. It was more than sound, it was as if the darkness had a voice haunting, ancient, primal. Rachel's heart raced. They had stirred something deep within this abyss, and she was no longer certain it could be contained. Stay together. She managed to shout above the mounting noise, pushing the words out of her tightening throat. The light they had woven flickered, battled against the encroaching gloom, but each pulse filled with uncertainty. Eli's laughter now seemed more like maniacal glee than the anguished cries they had heard moments before. Suddenly, the air thickened with a dense fog, choking at their resolve. Rachel's breath hitched. A figure materialized from within the smoke, grotesque yet tragically beautiful. It bore the face of those they'd lost, the loved ones that Eli had kept shackled in torment. Their eyes pools of despair and longing pierced through her, rendering her limbs heavy with sorrow. Rachel, they whispered, the name echoing with grief. Help us, tears stung Rachel's eyes as she stumbled backward. No, it can't be. The ache in her chest grew unbearable, a throbbing reminder of what had been shattered. The crowd staggered too, faltering as if burdened by the weight of their own lost connections. People were drawn closer to the figure, reaching out, a desperate longing lighting their faces. A young man gasped, gripping his heart. It's really them. Eli's laughter returned, ringing out like a bell tolling in the distance. You're all so easily manipulated. You think you can save them. They are lost to you. They always will be. He gestured, and the room darkened, dozens of voices intertwining, each a petulant plea clawing for affection, hope, redemption. Stop it. Rachel shouted, shaking her head violently, trying to dispel the images. Her voice cracked, but fury ignited. We can break this cycle. She steadied her breath, mustering every ounce of courage. We remember them not in sorrow but in strength. When she turned back, her companions were no longer doubting. For those we love, shouted the woman from before, arm raised defiantly. The elderly man rallied the crowd, his voice steadying. They live in our memories, in our hearts. Rachel felt an electric charge in the air as their chant grew again, swelling with raw emotion. We are unbreakable. We are enough. We choose love. Each declaration shattered the weight of despair that threatened to pull them under, but Eli wasn't done. From the depths of the shadows, he summoned larger, more sinister forms, monstrous apparitions that resembled giant brutes of terror, swirling miseries known only to individual souls. Their eyes glinted, hungry for despair. And there was more. The ground trembled beneath Rachel's feet as Eli began to laugh once more, a hard, rasping sound that quickly turned into a deafening roar. No more. She screamed. Fight. Remember why we stand together. With their voices pushing against the darkness, Rachel felt her heart connect with thousands of other hearts. A pulse, a rhythm, a tremor of survival. And then, through the waves of shadows, she saw it, the doorway, the source of the crack. It shimmered faintly, pulsing like a dying star. Could this doorway be a way out, or was it yet another trap? Follow me. Rachel cried, taking a step towards the doorway as the shadows clawed hungrily at her heels, struggling to keep up with the tide of light fueled by their unity. But then she heard it, a shattering blast, cutting through the noise, piercing through desperation. A voice, a child's voice calling to her from the depths of the doorway. Rachel, please! A jolt as a wave of dread washed over her, deepening the pit in her stomach. Was it just an echo or something more, something waiting to ensnare her? What lay beyond the threshold, and could they maintain their fragile unity long enough to face it? Time was slipping away, and a decision had to be made. Would Rachel turn towards the call from the shadows or push onward into the light? Rachel's heart hammered in her chest. The child's voice pulled at something deep within her, but so did the pulsing doorway, shimmering as if promising salvation. The shadows loomed closer, thick and suffocating, and Eli's laughter orchestrated a cacophony of despair. "Rachel!" The child cried again, a plea that pierced through the chaos. It was a sound filled with fear and innocence. Her mind raced. Was it a trick? Was Eli harnessing the very essence of hope to ensnare them deeper? The desperation of the disembodied whispers began to weave a tapestry of memories, making her ache for those they had lost. "Stay focused," she shouted to her companions. She could see their faces drawn tight, fear and longing battling within them. "We need to stand together." The ground trembled beneath them, the monstrous figures summoned by Eli swinging their immense limbs in fury. Fog swirled around Rachel's ankles, tendrils curling up as if trying to pull her back into darkness. "Fight it. Remember what they meant to you." Rachel felt her voice rise above the noise. She thought of her brother, the laughter they had shared, their childhood adventures. "If you give in to the shadows, they win. Those we've lost are counting on us." A few steps closer to the doorway. The child's voice called again, more frantic now, as if sensing her approach. "Rachel, don't leave me." With every word, something within her ignited. She glimpsed faces among the shadows, sweet memories tinged with sorrow. Friends, family, ones who had walked this earth for far too short a time. Tears streamed down her face as she fought to hold the images in her mind, not letting the darkness steal them away. Beside her, the elderly man stepped forward, his face resolute. "We choose to remember. Not in loss but in love." His voice rang out, shattering the spell for just a heartbeat. "Let them go." Eli's roar came like a thunderclap, shaking the fabric of reality around them. "They are here because you brought them. You are the ones who tethered them to this place of torment." "No!" Rachel shouted back, defiance rising within her. "We set them free. Together." A clash of wills broke out. She felt the synergy of her companions surge behind her, a wall of solidarity. The shadows shrank back, recoiling from the warmth of their combined strength. Still, Eli brandished his power, every heart-wrenching cry echoing through the chamber as he summoned the despaired souls to reinforce their torment. Then, a shift. The fog surrounding the doorway thickened as if trying to close off their passage, brute phantoms swirling faster, their savage eyes now glinting with a predatory hunger. Rachel felt the pressure growing, pushing against her very essence. "Rachel!" The child's voice again, stronger and more urgent. "I'm scared." That did it. Fear, love, connection, every emotion hit her like a tidal wave. She took another step towards the glowing threshold, heart racing, knowing that no matter what lay beyond, this was their fight. "Choose light!" she cried, voice raw. With that, the masses surged forward, pushed by an unseen force. The rasp of Eli's laughter blended with cries of outrage as the shadows began to lift, the doorway glowing brighter, beckoning. "Go!" Rachel shouted. "Now! We can do this together." Fluid in their connection, they moved forward, arms outstretched toward the pulsing light. Hope mingled with fear, and for a flickering moment, it felt like they could break through the abyss engulfing their spirits, but Eli wouldn't let them go easily. With a wrenching shout, he unleashed ethereal chains from the darkness, whipping them out like living serpents. "Don't you dare!" Rachel cried as the chains reached for them, glistening with malice and despair. She plunged forward, determined to face whatever awaited on the other side. As darkness clawed at her, Rachel felt a jarring pull, a binding tether wreaking havoc on her mind. Would they escape the grip of the shadows or fall victim to Eli's malevolence? The answer lay just beyond the doorway, teetering on the edge of light and darkness. And then, she took a breath, ready to jump. Would it lead them home or to their doom? The choice loomed in that electrifying second. Rachel's heart raced as her fingers grazed the threshold. The light shimmered and beckoned, whispering promises of freedom. Just a moment the chains lashed out toward her, hungry for her spirit, a warning that danger lurked even in hope. Together! She shouted again, her voice a lifeline in the tumult. The elderly man and the others pushed through the haze, determination etched on their faces. Each one pulled away from the shadows, their own memories sparking light in the despair. Rachel felt their shared energy surge. It was intoxicating and powerful. It was everything Eli feared, but Eli wasn't finished. With a thunderous roar, the walls of darkness creaked and groaned, shifting like a storm about to break. Shadows writhed as they absorbed the panic that reverberated through the chamber. Rachel caught a glimpse of shifting forms, faces twisting in agony. Each soul tethered to their own burdens. Eli laughed maniacally, his voice slicing through the din like a knife. "You will not leave. They belong to me, and so do you." His eyes glinted with malicious triumph as the chains snaked closer, their cold links rattling like death's embrace. Rachel gritted her teeth and lunged forward. The light beckoned with all its ferocity, as if aware of their plight, urging them to breach the divide. "We go now," she cried, fire igniting in her chest. Rallying to her fervor, her companions echoed her sentiment. With synchronized resolve, they linked hands, forming a barrier against the endless tide of despair. The chains, momentarily halted, quivered as if sensing the shift in their strengthening bonds. But deep within the shadows, something else stirred. A figure emerged, a grotesque silhouette pieced together from the very fears they fought against. Rachel recognized it immediately. It was him, the embodiment of her past demons, every ounce of grief and sorrow that she had tucked away into the dark corners of her heart. "Rachel," it whispered, an echo of her brother's voice, dragging with it the weight of guilt. "No," she pressed, shaking her head violently. The memories of loss hung heavy, but she wouldn't bend to them. "You're not real. You're not who I remember." Like clockwork, the figure began to shift again, morphing into fragments of others she had lost. Friends turned to shadows, smiles twisted into cries of anguish. Each face urged her to blame herself, to succumb to regret. "Rachel!" The child's voice broke through, tearing at the haze, desperate and raw. "Don't let them take you." In that moment, she saw the chains quiver and burn, the darkness netting tighter around the edges of their gathering light. It was an agonizing challenge between her memories and the very essence of herself. But clinging to the child's plea ignited a fierce will within her. "Together!" she shouted again, her voice rising above the chaos. With renewed strength, Rachel pulled her companions forward, crashing through the darkness like a wave against the shore. The light flickered but never faltered. Their laughter, the real kind, mixed with the desperate cries of the shadows, battling for supremacy. Eli's face tightened with rage, furious that their collective hope was turning the tide. "You think you can escape me?" he shrieked, summoning the shadows tighter, tightening the bind around their minds like choking ivy. "Nothing can bind us," Rachel roared. "We are more than our pain." With an explosive burst of energy, they plunged toward the doorway, light intensifying as if matching the urgency of their hearts beating wildly. The chains lunged again, but instead of retreating, they fortified their arms, resolute and unwavering. Just before the darkness could pull her back, Rachel dove forward, the pulsing light swallowing her whole. Then silence. Her heart still thumped loudly in her chest. Had they made it? Sharp fragments of fear burrowed into her thoughts. Everything hung on a precipice, unbelievably chaotic yet achingly still. The world around her felt warped, shadows playing tricks with her mind. At last, she squinted, attempting to adjust to the light, but as clarity seeped back in, the breathtaking visage that met her made her gasp. It wasn't freedom. It was a place she never expected. Was it a trap? Or had they crossed into something more sinister? The answer awaited, just beyond the shimmering threshold of their greatest hopes and darkest fears. The crowd stumbled forward, confusion washing over them like a wave. Rachel blinked against the brightness that enveloped them, the air thick with both tension and something oddly sweet. This was new, but it felt strangely familiar. She looked around, taking in her companions. The elderly man still stood beside her, eyes wide like saucers, and the woman who had echoed her cries gripped her hand tightly. Where are we? A voice quivered nearby. Is this another illusion? Someone else whispered, scanning the light for shadows. Ahead, a vast field opened up, dotted with familiar faces. Each one bore gentle smiles, light radiating from their very beings. Rachel felt her chest tighten. It was a place of memory but also the essence of hope. No way, she murmured, stepping ahead. As they moved deeper, faces became recognizable: friends, family, even the pets she had lost. Time seemed to suspend as they reached out, fingers brushing against familiar silhouettes. A warmth she thought lost forever washed over her. This can't be real, she breathed, the moment a bittersweet symphony of joy and heartache. But what Eli had conjured was not far behind. The shadows lurked at the edges, threatening to pull her back, insidious whispers creeping into her mind. Look at them, Rachel. They suffer because of you. You let them go. No. Rachel screamed, shaking her head vehemently. I didn't let you down. I choose love. The memories tried to tether her, but her companions rallied around her, their presence steady. Look. The elderly man beckoned, pointing into the heart of the field. There's a way through. Hearts pounding, they pushed toward a golden path that shimmered bright against the muted greens around them. Eli's laughter echoed ominously, sound waves crashing against the blissful serenity. You think this is a sanctuary? You're only in my trap. Memories can't save you. The air crackled as the shadows surged forward, clawing at the vibrant light. Stay strong. Rachel rallied her companions. We have to face this together. Love is stronger than regret. The others nodded, determination glinting in their eyes. They stepped forward, arms linking as they propelled themselves toward the bright path, the figures of the past harmonizing alongside them. Each face, every gnarled memory shattered as the light ignited fiercely, pushing against the encroaching darkness. Shadows, begone. Rachel roared, her voice charging with the love echoing through her heart. We refuse your truth. In that moment, the harsh dichotomy between shadows and light blurred. They had created something stronger, their journey together. With each step, they felt it binding them, almost a third entity in their midst, pushing against the inky tendrils wrapping tightly around their feet. Eli's laughter turned into a screech as he lunged, desperate to reclaim his hold. You will never escape me. Darkness is your nature. No. Rachel screamed again, forcing herself to focus. We are not our fears. We are not alone. At that declaration, the light surged, waves crashing forward as laughter bubbled through each voice. The golden path expanded, the shadows hissing as they began to pull away, retreating from the radiance that threatened to consume them. Then suddenly, Eli's form rippled, his sinister visage twisting into something monstrous. You think you've won. You've only paved the way for your downfall. But Rachel felt nothing but a rising wave of clarity. We will not fear the darkness. We embrace our truth. She shouted, eyes blazing against the shadows that hissed and recoiled. And then, the golden pathway erupted, pulling each one forward with a force that seemed to merge them into something bigger, brighter. They surged into the light, slipping through the shadows that scrambled to catch them but were rendered powerless, fading into nothingness as they were whisked away by an unseen force. In a flash, silence enveloped them again. Rachel found herself standing breathless, the cacophony of voices silenced, replaced by the gentle rustle of leaves and the fragrance of blooming flowers. Did we make it? Someone whispered in disbelief. The field was vast, untouched beauty stretching infinitely in every direction, filled with soft colors and a warmth that felt tangible. Bright golden sunshine kissed their skin, illuminating the space around them in hues of hope. Welcome home, a warm voice beckoned from behind them. Turning slowly, Rachel came face to face with the eldest figure, the embodiment of the purest love she had lost. Her grandmother, radiant and enveloped in a brilliant glow. You have triumphed. You faced your fears, confronted your shadows, and chose love. This is where you're meant to be, surrounded by every moment that shaped your spirit. Tears flowed freely down Rachel's cheeks as she took a step forward. The others joined her, hearts swelling as they witnessed their own cherished pasts manifest beautifully. They had transformed suffering into connection, shadows into a foundation of unity. As the whispers of longing faded away, Rachel knew one thing: the battle wasn't about winning against Eli, it was about embracing what made them whole. Here, nothing could bind them. Together, she whispered, referring to all those she loved, the ones lost and found. And as they stood united, basking in the warmth of this new beginning, Rachel felt a profound peace settle within her heart. She knew they had the strength to navigate any darkness ahead. As their connection solidified and deepened, she felt ready to turn back and face whatever other challenges awaited with an unshakable spirit. Together, always, Rachel affirmed once more, finding each familiar face reflected in the shimmering light. And with that, they ventured forth, unburdened, ready to embrace the limitless possibilities ahead, for this moment was simply the beginning of their true journey. Before we wrap up this incredible journey, I need all of you to do something amazing. You need to subscribe now so you never miss our next adventures. Smash the like button now. Let's feed that algorithm and grow together. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. I'm dying to hear your thoughts. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us spread the light together. Your support makes all the difference. Let us keep this amazing journey going.